Well, hello, everyone. Welcome again to Business Owner Spotlight. This is our podcast and interview. I'm Marty Rasmussen from Action Coach here in Minneapolis. And today I am thrilled to be able to introduce to you someone that I would like to call a new friend. His name is Mark Yount. He is the CEO of Match Nutrition, and he has quite a story to share with us today. About his journey in business and in life, but also about what he has in store for some new exciting plans for his business and how a lot of you could benefit from that. So, Mark, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
Well, thanks, Marty. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so Mark, you've got quite a background. You started out in the electronics business, and then you suddenly, well, maybe it wasn't suddenly in your life, but if you look at your resume, it looks like kind of suddenly you moved into the nutrition business. And I just think this is a great opportunity for business owners to learn from someone like you that may others that may have said they may be in a particular area of their life today that they're like, man, how do I get to that dream life of mine? And make a switch that could be as dramatic as from electronics to nutrition. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Where did this journey start for you?
Well, really, yeah, I was in consumer electronics. I started as a kid at age 16. I worked at McDonald's for 3 or 4 weeks and decided that was not going to be my career path. And I found out that there was a local, we called them stereo stores back then. And so there was a stereo store opening up in a strip center near me. So I had to have that job. So, I think I strapped on a tie in high school and went down and applied and got the job as a salesperson. So yeah, I started in a stereo store. As the years went by, I eventually got into the manufacturer's rep business for consumer electronics, and then opened my own firm, a manufacturer's rep firm, a few years after that. So I spent a lot of my adult career in consumer electronics, repping, and went through a couple of recessions, went through some very big boom times based on Best Buy being here in Minneapolis, and we sold them products almost continuously for quite a few years. And so it's a very fast moving, fun, dynamic business. Technology is always changing. And I was witness and a participant in all the years of changing electronics from what were primarily analog type things into the digital revolution. So it's fun, it's dynamic, it's definitely a people's and person business, because we were outside salespeople and going out and calling on everything from music stores all the way up through Target and Best Buy. So it's fun and dynamic. And during those years, I became a runner. A neighbor talked me into it, and it started out pretty rocky, but she eventually.
Was this just to get to some enjoyment or kind of distract you from the grind of daily work life, or was there any health concerns or anything? What was it that was the impetus behind that?
My neighbor, who I'd gotten to know well, came across the street and she said, Marky, she says, I used to be a gymnast, and then I got married and had these 3 lovely daughters. And she goes, I'm going to get back in shape, and I think you should come down to the lake and run with me. And it was that simple and that bold. And I said, Becky, I don't think so. I said, I have mild asthma. And I said, the second thing is when I walk too far when we're on vacation, I feel like someone put a nail gun on my right knee. And so I said, I don't think so, but I'll be with you in spirit. And she didn't take that for an answer. And so anyway, we used to bike down to the lake, and Becky would talk the whole time as we went around the lake, and it was just very, very difficult. So finally, I got some better shoes. I wasn't running in my high top basketball shoes anymore. I got my asthma addressed. And so I slowly became a runner over about, I don't know, 6 months. Anyway, so that was the start of it. And, but I was hooked. Stress reduction, better health and wellness, and just really had, I think, a better, more relaxed perspective on business and personally. So, it definitely was a stress reducer in my life. So that was the two coinciding things: is a fun business in consumer electronics, and became a runner and worked up to marathons, ultra marathons, 24-hour events, and things like that. So it's fun. It's fun. It became a passion for sure.
That's amazing. 24-hour events. I've got a friend of mine down in Kentucky. His wife is an ultra marathoner, but she does the trail runs, like the 50-mile trail runs and that kind of
Yes.
thing. And it's like, wow. I mean, that requires a lot of training, but it's also the mental discipline too, though, right? I mean,
Well, and it doesn't matter if you run a mile or if you run 100 miles. The minute that you cross over some distance, some arbitrary distance that you would have gotten in the car for, and you realize that your body propelled you through to that piece, I mean, those are the aha moments. Those are the breakthroughs where you think, I just took a human body beyond what I'd ever done and what I ever thought I could do. So it's you're breaking all the rules that you learned your whole life. So yeah, it's life changing for most people.
well, okay, so you just hit on some of the key fundamentals of business too, right? And that's sometimes pushing ourselves beyond what we think we're capable of. So how did that turn into Match?
Well, I was having a particularly bad run in an ultra marathon, a 50-kilometer, 31-mile run locally here. And I was near the end. I think I was probably mile 26 or 27. And I was really having a hard time keeping going. And people were passing me and, saying good job and all that. And yeah, you too. And so, but I was clearly falling back. And I realized that everybody that day had probably dressed different. They had probably hydrated different. They'd probably eaten different things that morning or the day before. And I realized that for whatever reason, I didn't have the right combination for me. So, nutrition is personal. Hydration is personal. What you wear to a race or an event is personal from the standpoint of, how much you sweat, how much heat you put off, how much, wind you're running in, and so on. So I had the aha moment during that run of calling a friend of mine who's a professor in kinesiology and health sciences and saying, Peter, here's what happened to me today. How can we put out a consumer product that starts to take them down a path of personalizing their nutrition? So really, those were the nuggets and the pieces of it, was realizing my own shortcomings during a run and then saying, okay, well, how can we address this? Because obviously, if you eat a certain nutrition bar and I eat the same bar, we get the same benefit from it. We get the same, nutrients and so on. And yet, something that's for a 17-year-old female who is in high school track or something, she needs different nutrients and she needs, different things. So that's the path we started on. And it took us about 2 years to really pull the whole thing together. But what we put out was what we call Match gender specific nutrition bars. So we have separate nutrients for men and women. And we keep it simple. We don't put in anything exotic or strange or different that the consumer hasn't heard about. Women get extra folic acid, calcium, and iron. Men get a little extra protein, and then they get branched chain amino acids and a little bit more vitamin B6 and B12 for metabolism. That's assuming that men generally were going to have a little bit more muscle mass and a little bit more blood volume. So that's kind of the thing. So we keep it simple. And we launched those in 2019. We started getting traction with them, started selling some of the major national distributors, grocery channel. We got a panel up on Amazon, and here came the worldwide pandemic. So we struggled through that, struggled with it, pushed when we thought we could push, pulled when we didn't. But I know you, Marty, you're local here in the Minneapolis area. And of course, we had the George Floyd tragedy. And so that was, a second body blow to just trying to have some normalcy and sales around here in this area.
What was one of the key learnings? I mean, that's such a pivotal time for so many business owners. And what was the key learning through that? And where are you
The key,
today after coming out of it?
the key learning piece is no one could have anticipated, of course, a worldwide pandemic. But the key learning piece for me was really that you need to have an enormous amount of dry powder investment and dollars available for marketing. Because
Mm,
if we knew what we had to have for marketing in a normal marketplace, but by the time that we got into the pandemic, it was obvious that that was not going to be sufficient. Even with people lost in the pandemic and buying from Amazon, where we had a presence, we were totally overwhelmed by the tsunami of the other manufacturers, buying keywords and advertising on Amazon and just obliterating us. So key learning, not enough marketing money. And we had a tragedy in that our co-packer, who was actually making our bars in Hartford, Connecticut, was killed by COVID. So we had he was a very reliable and quality supplier and manufacturer of our bars, and we had to pretty much instantly change and look for a different co-packer. And that's an expensive and long process. It normally takes 3 to 5 months to source, find, test, do some sample runs, and make sure that your product is done in a quality manner and packaged and so on and so forth. So it's expensive. So when that came along, we literally said, what are we doing here? And we'd run out of marketing money. And so we toughed it out for about another year, and then effectively made the decision that there was this other lucrative category over here. We didn't have money to do both. So we have discontinued the nutrition bars, and we're going to go to the athletic fueling market
mm.
or runners. So we're in the midst of a big pivot right now. We have no inventory of the bars. They're still up on Amazon and they're still up at our website, My Match Bar. But we are right now past the product ideation and the concept, and we're working forward and starting to contact co-packers right now. And this will be a different format. We will not be making nutrition bars. We'll be making gummies.
Oh,
So
fascinating.
yeah, yeah. So
Well, one of the things you shared earlier was that so obviously the pandemic, the George Floyd thing, all those three main categories that you talked about that were really, I mean, that's beyond headwinds in a business, right? I mean, those could be potentially
body blows.
catastrophic, right? Any one of them could be, let alone all three,
Right.
with your co-packer and everything else. But resilience is the word that comes to my mind when I think of what you've done walking through those three, serious challenges. But more importantly, there's two things that come to mind. One is the idea that you had when you were out running that day about a nutrition bar, and you, pardon the pun, ran with it, right? And then you
Yeah,
turned it into
yeah.
a business. And then all of a sudden you have these three challenges in front of you, and a lot of people would just collapse. I mean, they would just check out. But here you're actually pursuing it again through this resilient nature of yours to be able to press in and say, what are the other opportunities? And in
And
our
that's
earlier
the
conversation,
theme. That's the
yeah.
theme, really. And I appreciate you pointing that out because I'm an ultra marathoner. And
Hmm.
so you have to take the long view that this particular piece of pain and the steps that you've been through over the last, whatever, if you're actually doing a race over the last minutes, hours, or even, half a day are going to get better. I guess we're the eternal optimists. And really, I have to say that I'm still here today and going to launch this pivot into a new category because of my ability that I developed in ultra marathoning. I mean, it's just that simple. I've been, blessed with good health, but the resilience that you just mentioned is clearly because of my passion of running and being applied to business.
And what you shared with me is that the nutrition bar market has really been at full capacity in terms of the
Yeah.
products that are currently there. But you also shared earlier before the call is that this space that you're looking at now really is much needed and maybe not quite as much competition. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I'll lay out a piece of it. I don't want to show all my cards because we're still in the product concept and ideation point, and we're not in the marketplace yet. But when you become a runner, should you choose to go up to the various distances beyond, say, a half marathon, marathon, and become an ultra marathoner, you need to fuel the body during those minutes and hours that you're going for those distances. And a company called Goo Energy Labs in 1993 started selling a foil packet of goo, of jelly-like material that has flavoring in it, vanilla, chocolate, whatever it is, and it gives you 100 calories of energy. And you take those during your longer runs. You take them during marathons, you take them during ultras. Sometimes bikers take them when they're going, longer distances. But the interesting messaging from day one has been that if you're running a shorter race, a 5K, a 10K, maybe your mother passed away from breast cancer, your father, from some type of heart attack or something, and you're running a charity race and so on, this is where the heart is. This is where the fun is. And these people, I don't want to use the word casual, but they're just as dedicated as a marathoner out there. They're running for a purpose, even if it was their college roommate that said, hey, I'm going to do it. Why don't you join me? So they've been unaddressed by the fueling market because there's been this old-timey guidance from the energy companies that if you're not going these extreme distances, you don't need a product. And that's just rubbish. It's just not true. So consequently, we're going to put out products that is dedicated to those shorter races. We're going to do it in a fun, concise, and give good guidance of when you take our product and how you should use our product. We're going to put it out in gummy form, which is been fairly well accepted in that market. And we're going to have some fun with it. So the numbers are so tilted towards the shorter races. It's unbelievable. It's an unaddressed market segment. So we're really excited about it, but we've got to just, say, hush, hush. No one's done this, and we don't want someone who's an existing competitor in that field to jump on this idea. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, so again, not just resilience, but taking idea to market and having the patience to be able to walk through those steps because I've met a lot of people in my life that have had some great ideas and they keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming about the ideas, but they don't know how. I mean, how do they do it? And that's where they get stuck. And I see a lot of dreams just kind of fade away. And so I appreciate what you're talking about in terms of just continuing to press through and getting mile after mile after mile, right? I mean, that's the whole focus, right? So, um, yeah. Well, maybe one other question, Mark. What is, if you were to look back on this fascinating career of yours, both in both businesses that you've run and now starting a third, is there any kind of aha moment that says, hey, this is something that I learned that if I could share one nugget of my experience with the listeners out there that they would find helpful, maybe shorten their learning curve a little bit?
I think that you have to, let's say, for example, your business is, your dream is to sell it. You're going to have a 5-year, 8-year exit strategy. I would say that I think it's particularly helpful if you absolutely focus on that day or that month when a buyer has presented themselves, They're going to buy your business. And I think you really need to put a high resolution idea in your brain about that day. So, in other words, I think of it, again, a running parallel, it's the finish line.
Yeah.
When you pass over the finish line. So if that's your strategy, and that is mine, by the way, is that this match thing is I would have never done it without a vision for this is something to sell, to do something truly unique and then sell it. So I think that you have to have the long view. You have no idea what's going to come up, and we've certainly seen that. But that's the piece. Have a high resolution idea of the finish line and your goal. Because on the days that absolutely stink, nothing's going right. You're off course. You're off in the ditch. You can't quite figure out how to get the passion back to get back up on the tarmac. You have to be able to add to your little vision and beautiful day that's coming. So that's it. Take the long view.
Couldn't have said it myself. And there's a couple of points that you've made during this conversation today that I just want to reiterate, because there are two things that we teach and coach people on at Action Coach. One is you talk about marketing and making sure that you had enough marketing dollars. We believe that marketing, a lot of accountants will look at it as an expense, right? Because it falls on the expense line item in the profit and loss statement. We look at it though as an investment, and making sure that we're continuing
Yeah.
to invest in our business, because that's what propels us to that next level. But the second thing is just said, and I can't reinforce it more, and that is clear vision of where you want to be, when you're going to be there, what and the steps that it takes to get there. Those two things are right out of the Action Coach playbook. So it sounds like you're a step ahead of a lot of the people that we normally talk to. So thanks for sharing.
Well, you're very welcome. And I think the thing is also is ask for help. It's real easy for your ego to, envision that final day and the closing on your business. And you're going to walk away with a big check. Really, there's going to be a lot of people along the way that will give you cogent information and advice that can save you a lot of learning curve. Just ask for it. Just ask for it. And it's amazing what people bring to the table. We've had one round of financing, friends and family, and it truly was friends and family. And quite frankly, the people that said no, that they were not going to invest in Match Nutrition and Mark Yount at this point in time, have turned out to be the best mentoring coaches and given us the best advice and the help along the way, free of charge. So keep the people that say no, if you're looking for money, close by, because they are still a tremendous font of energy and wisdom along
And
the
a lot
way.
of times you can't put a price on that either, right? So
No, absolutely not. I can't pay the price of what my mentors bring to the table for sure.
great. Well, Mark, thanks again for joining us. I know there's a lot of people that may be interested in, I was going to say in your products, but I know you kind of have the Match Nutrition piece on hold right now. But
Yeah.
would there, if they wanted to reach out to you and just get to know you a little bit better, is there a way that they might be able to do that?
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to. LinkedIn is probably the fastest access to myself, and yeah, just send me a note on LinkedIn, and let's talk.
Sounds good. Well, everyone, again, it's Mark Yount, Yount, and he is on LinkedIn. He's got a great profile out there. And Mark, thank you so much for joining the show and being able to share all of those details with us. I know I got a lot out of it, and I'm confident that our listeners are as well. So thank
Thanks,
you.
Marty. It's been
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it has been good. Well, we look forward to continuing to stay in touch with you and watch your journey as time goes by.
Thank
So
you.
thank you to all the listeners for coming and joining us again today. I encourage you to reach out to Mark and get to know him and the work that he's doing. And who knows, maybe he'll encourage you to become a runner or maybe even an ultra marathon person as well, just because of his encouragement that he gave us today. So thanks again, everyone. We look forward to seeing you on the next on the next show. Thank you.